Hello, welcome. This is the second part to the modeling of my short animation Bruno. Like I said in the past one, I'm not the best modeler. I have been just using the basics. I've learned that you can kind of do a lot with the basics, although it might take you a little bit more time. Let's start out with the setting. I had wanted to use this nice beach setting with this bridge, so I was thinking of the best ways to make these arches, and I know there are better ways of like duplicating the arches, and I ended up just using the Boolean modifier, which I can put in any shape into a mesh and it will just create a hole. And I think that worked fairly well. I also used proportional editing for the mountain, which I found works pretty well. If you just grab a few vertices and you start pulling, it will pull other vertices with it, and I think it can create a nice mountain. I've used this throughout my modeling because it's almost like a sculpturing in Blender, which I haven't touched yet, so this is just like a nice easy form of sculpturing to me. After making the setting, I went straight into making Bruno, the character, which I was scared because I had never made a character before. I think he turned out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with and satisfied. It took a lot of trial and error to get to where I wanted. Like I said, I used a lot of proportional editing. I mostly just thugged it out with moving vertices here and there. Normally, I see people using sculpturing to create characters. I didn't see a need to, just because my character, I wanted a really simple character and I have never really used sculpturing before, and I really just wanted to get this done quickly, so I went with what I knew. I did as much as I could off my head, but eventually I did end up adding a reference photo because he was not looking too good. I couldn't figure out the shapes of the body, and anatomy is pretty important when you're trying to model. After some time, the shape really started to form, and I was really happy. Now, the other thing that I could have done was, if I split him in half, I could have mirrored it to the other side. And that could have saved me half the work of trying to make everything symmetrical. I don't know why I didn't choose to do that. Maybe I was just scared, maybe I was just wanted to know that everything would work out. That's the one thing in Blender, is everything can be pretty finicky. You have to have everything, all the buttons pressed just right, or else it's not going to do exactly what you want it to do. After the character, I went straight to the hand, which everything from here on out I had trouble with. I didn't know where to start with the hand. I started by making a cutout of it, and was like, oh, what if I just extrude it and gave it some solidifier? No, and it doesn't work. It did not look good. And then, of course, I had to go and press one of the modifiers, and it absolutely crashed my laptop. Good thing, though, I saved. This is a good reminder, always save your work frequently. After creating that line, or cutout of the hand, I just decided to use it as a reference. I put my mesh around it, had one mesh for the palm, and just went ahead and molded a sphere around each and every finger until it looked fairly nice. I'm pretty happy with how the hands turned out. I can't wait to start animating this. As you can see, it does have like that cartoony look, but like not too heavy. Like it's somewhere in between realistic and cartoon, which I think is really nice. From there, you know, I went to the eyes and the nose. For the nose, I used proportional editing again, just really just molding it into what I felt could be a realistic, cartoonish nose, and I think it gets the job done. Especially after I shade it, it should look nice. Then for the hair, I added just 3 cylinders and molded them into 3 strands, and then I added another sphere and just used proportional editing, but this time I changed it so it would be random, so every time I pull a vertice, it's going to pull all the other vertices in a random direction. And I felt like that could make like a nice little Italian afro, if you will. It's a quick and easy way to do it, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. It's just simplicity. That's really what I'm going for right now. The shoe I had the hardest time with. I started the shoe the same way I started the hand, just by making a cutout and using the cutout as a reference, but ultimately it proved to be very difficult for me to mold this shoe the same way I had done everything else. I eventually got to a place where I liked it, but if I was to do this again, I would have done this differently. It took me 5 or 6 tries of just going for it, and I had to delete it many times. I think if I was to do this again, I would have used the square for the base of the shoe, but then ultimately had a sphere for the mesh of the shoe. I tried making this all with one square, just proved very difficult. And while in the end I did come out with a product that I think will serve its purpose in the film, it's a little shaky. It's a little weird, but I think in the end it will definitely get the job done. I'm still happy with how my shoe turned out. There was a lot of subdivisions, and I definitely did not go about the shoe in the best way. If anyone has any tips on modeling, please let me know, because I'm still at the basics right now, and while I can do a lot with that, it takes a lot of time. But now that I have everything modeled, I need to go in and shade and rig everything, so stay tuned. I'm really excited for the next part. Very excited to animate. So please come back, please give me tips. I would love to meet you all. Have a great night.